Hi guys, this is Allison from Alleycat Creations. How are you? Please like, share, and subscribe to my channel if you have yet to do so. And if you get anything from my work, get connected on an epiphany, a mind-blown moment, a new book to read, a new author to explore, artwork, oracle cards. All that information is in the description box below this video. You could check out my artwork at Allycatcreations211.com. I got lots of pyramids. A lot of pyramids. Oh, it won't show it. Maybe now. I got artwork. Candles. Keychains. All kinds of fun stuff. So if you're interested in anything that you see, please go email me because that's the best way to find me. Really quick announcements. I am going to be on Jack Breaks Out tomorrow. I want to say 2 Eastern or 2 Central. Not 100% sure on the time yet, but I'll be on with Jack and Conan discussing some spiritual fun. So check me out there. And I'm going to be on Women of the Stars with Cosmic Mama. My friend Erica asked me to join her in a discussion on makeup. So I'll be there doing that Saturday. Also, I believe 2 p.m. Central. If not, I'm going to post that on my social medias, Telegram especially. So go check me out there. Message of Aquaria. Today we're going to read Life Waves. This is going to be interesting. I am still very congested and under the weather in terms of projection. So please mind you that I am trying not to sound muddled. I know I sound it in my ears. It might not come out to you that way, but I'm going to do my best. I know yesterday's read was rather difficult for me. I'm doing my best. I'm trying to keep, when I have time, I'm trying to flow some of these out. Define timing. Life waves. Quote, all thy waves and thy billows are gone over me. Yet the Lord will command his loving kindness in the daytime, and in the night his song shall be with me, and my prayer unto God of my life. Psalms. Quote, all things pass away. Hold, all things are become new. 2 Corinthians. In the previous chapter, we considered life in its spiral manifestation. In this, we will try to apply a phase of the law of spiral manifestation to life as we see it manifesting in our environment today. Conceive of a number of spirals of various sizes interblending and embracing the universe. It is evident that but a limited part of each spiral can be visible or even manifested at any one given spot or at a given time. Yet at that spot, there would appear many lines in the form of waves. A study of the higher non-Eleusinian geometry reveals the fact that there is no such thing in nature as a straight line, all lines being parts of a greater or lesser curves. Hence, all lines of force are curved or waved as they manifest in their positive and negative aspects. I have always said this as an artist, there is no such thing as a straight line. Since man is a microcosm or miniature universe, we naturally find the forces of his bodies, physical, astral, mental, and spiritual, following the same law of wave motion. And an understanding and utilization of this law is an important step toward the attainment of self-mastery. If we find ourselves one day riding on the upward curve or crest of a wave, of life force and cry, all is well, there is no such thing as sickness, suffering, sin, or poverty. All are but figments of the imagination and have no existence. With what a shock we find ourselves on the morrow, plunged into disillusion and discouragement by the downward sweep of a negative wave. Just as the mariner at sea is plunged into the trough of the waves, where he is cut off from the sight of other ships and seems to be alone and deserted on an empty sea. But if we realize that all nature forces work toward ultimate progression and that the negative wave is of as much importance as the crest, we will endeavor to rule our lives accordingly. For just as we could not sustain our physical life if we breathed ever outward and never inward, so all the forces of nature must have their rhythmic wave motion of indrawing as well as outgoing, if there are to gather the power, force, and momentum for the cycle of expression. Just as the ocean wave must indraw or descend into the trough if it is to gather the momentum necessary to rise again into manifestation at the crest. Yet we must ever strive for poise and control, for if we allow the waves to rise too high and become too tempestuous, they must sink to a corresponding depth. Even the physical breath follows a spiral path and is not a straight in and out motion, as many suppose. We could see and appreciate the rhythm of the physical breath, but the rhythm of the innumerable finer forces passing in and out of our bodies from various sources is not so easily observed. The breath, however, being the main vehicle of life's stream, is a controlling factor. Hence, when the breath of life leaves the body, the finer forces which coordinate with the breath to make it the breath of life are withdrawn, and it and all the other forces are left to work at random, individually and uncoordinated, and thus accomplish the work of dissolution and disintegration, a manifestation of the lowest and negative sweep of the life wave in the physical body. We can make our lives flow smoothly, harmoniously, and rhythmically only as we understand and work with this law of rhythmic wave motion. An unbalanced person lives on a tempestuous sea, where the waves beat and toss the bark of life and weaken it and hasten it to its end. This might be compared to a tidal wave so great that it lifts the soul out of the body and then sinks so low as to leave the physical body like an abandoned drifting wreck on the shore of time. Yet Jesus, the Christ man, was symbolized as walking on the tempestuous sea. The waves as such obey his mandate. Peace be still. Hence, since we are told that he was an example for us in all things, we too can follow his footsteps and speak the word of peace, that the tempestuous sea of life shall obey us. When we find that we no longer maintain the highest crest of a wave of happiness, inspiration, and achievement, instead of struggling against its descent or permitting ourselves to grow irritated, discouraged, or hopeless, let us make an effort to remain calm and say to ourselves, this is but the outgoing of some tide in my life. It is running out that it may return to the bosom of the boundless sea and gather greater force and momentum to sweep me higher up the mount of attainment at its next incoming cycle. Now is the time to examine myself and make ready for the new incoming wave. If we be the ebb of a wave of life force, for we have health waves as well as others, much depression and suffering can be avoided by realizing that often periods of ill health are but the spent forces of certain life waves which are retiring to gather power for a higher manifestation in a new life cycle or life, even death being but a more complete retirement of the life wave preparatory to a new incarnation. During such periods, hold in mind the picture of the ocean beach. As the tide goes out, how clean and smooth and pure it is. The debris is washed out to sea, and the beach is cleared and made ready for the new inrush from the mighty depth. bringing new and unknown forces and materials from unknown shores. Think, therefore, of the body as having been swept clean and made ready for a new wave of health. Treat corresponding ebb tides in the mental, physical, psychic, and spiritual life in a similar manner. But as often happens on the seashore, it is a last and rushing tide has been tossed higher than usual by some storm. It may have washed up debris and wreckage far beyond the reach of the ordinary tides. Hence, if we are to have a clear beach, we must gather up and burn all the wreckage of the storm. So in our lives, if we permit storms of anger or grief or even excitement to rush over us, while the life wave is at its height, we sink into the negative or outgoing tide. We find much wreckage to dispose of. Pause. This is what a lot of us are going through right now. I know that the ascension symptoms, feeling not so great, having this congestion, I'm purging out a lot of stuff. I'm also hitting a lot of realizations. Deep stuff is coming to me and in me and flowing within me. And the old self is starting to evaporate away, but I still have to burn that wreckage. A lot of us are going through the same things. We are in mental gymnastics constantly trying to figure out, why did I respond that way? What is going on in my life? The waves are crashing me against the rocks. What is going on? As we're traversing this time of the unknown, because we really don't know what's going to happen, people are only projecting a timeline that they are picking up on, and that might not be the right one that we're aligning with. So we are really in an unknown phase of time space. It is up to us to make sure that we are mentally prepared, handling what is being thrown at us on that seashore. What are you willing to let sink and let go? And this is just beautifully written. It's insane. But we got to, this is in the Hermetic initiations, even in meditation and in other cultures. This what we're going through right now is mastery. It's being initiated into a catalyst that gives us a hard time, and we have to try to overcome those obstacles. Sometimes we get signs, sometimes we do not. We have to figure it out for ourselves. But it's in your reactions that you're giving outwardly in your expression that determines if you are ready for the next ebb and flow of life. Are you mentally reacting? Are you mastering your reactions? Are you mastering staying calm? Are you mastering these things? This is what this is bringing to us. Under such conditions, oh, wait. No, I got it. Sorry, guys. Under such conditions, instead of viewing our lives as though buried in debris, sadly bemoaning our fate and saying, my life is ruined, I'm consumed with a hopeless grief, my life can never be joyous again, and so forth, we should use the time of the outgoing wave to gather up the debris. Then we should call down the living fire of the Christ love and ask that all things which seem but wasted opportunities or wrecked and blasted hopes shall be consumed and utterly transformed, the essence of good. The lesson that was in each may be built into our character, and all that was not for our good shall be washed away with the next ongoing tide, leaving our lives like the beach, clean, smooth, and shining, that they may reflect in all the glory the spiritual sun as it arises for a new day. I expand on this channel in my spiritual soul advices absolutely constantly, but I don't word it in this way. But it's the very thing that I keep saying. When you emotionally detach from people, places, and things, Yes, someone that you loved passes away. It is heart-wrenching. I've been there, been done that. It's not like I lost both my parents. I lost a birth mother and a bunch of friends to horrible, horrific things. So I understand the attachment, but you got to emotionally detach to understand a bigger lesson and a bigger picture. They're never going to be gone. They're just energy transformed. Their physical vehicle is gone. They will meet your light again. I could tell you that for sure. I know my parents are waiting for me. And they're like, ah, you got a while, bitch. They love me, but we have to stop making the end of the world scenarios in our mind, that stop negative self-speak, that because something didn't happen the right way, like I'm still looking for a job and I haven't found the right one yet. And whenever that happens, it does. And if it doesn't, I have to still live my life on an everyday basis. I'm not going to say this is the end of the world. I did that 2 years ago. I thought my life was over and ruined. But what came into me was, stop your shit. Stop reacting this way. That's not the case. It's just a hiccup. There's a lot of debris. Now sift through it, clear it, and make your beach beautiful. Make you a better, beautiful soul. Just because some bad, horrible thing happens and we're going to continuously go through these cycles, it's how you react to them. Yeah, change sucks, especially when it comes in the form of someone passing away and you have to redo a lot of what you are accustomed to doing. You know, instead of waking somebody up, make breakfast, it's just you. It's teaching you how to be self-sustained. It's teaching you how to take care of your own self, because we're always used to catering to other people, especially in a marriage or whatever the case is. Find the reason to live and be beautiful and grow. Change is hard, and a lot of this stuff is very heavy. But when you gain that experience, you gain wisdom and you gain the understanding. So other people who might feel alone are not going to be there by themselves anymore, because you're going to be there to help them. What a blessing is that? This planet on which we live also has many cycles or wave motions. All the forces of the universe are passing around and through it in rhythmic waves. This can easily be verified by the study of an engineer's map of the magnetic variations of the Earth. Although such a map is a study of but one of the cosmic forces manifesting on Earth, it will show that not only do the currents of magnetic force follow the laws of wave motion, but are also manifestly a part of the immense spiral, the variations changing constantly as the Earth passes from one condition to another, yet always in wave form. In humanity, this wave motion is most marked, sorry guys, as we pass from one age to another, as from the Pisan into the new day of the Aquarian age. The whirling and upset conditions resulting from the world war are but currents in the undertow of the ebb tide, or negative swing of the life force of a great cycle of humanity, sweeping out the debris of the past cycle, that the incoming wave may be unobstructed, and again the tremendous momentum necessary to swing mankind and the planet higher in the scale of evolution and spiritual expression than ever before. And of course, this world war that they're talking about is one. We are here again, moving that needle from the negative into the positive. The culmination of all of us tilting that needle to go faster and give it more momentum is what I've been trying to inspire a lot of you to start doing, and that's self-work. The more of us that are sitting in the frequency of authenticity and love, the faster that pendulum is going to swing to the positive polarity and stay there for a bit. And this is life. Things swing, but it's a matter of how far back that pendulum goes back that we can prevent us falling further back into the negative. If we could swing that pendulum and master how it's going to come back, but if we can get it to the neutral point and not swing too far back and let it keep swinging forward with a little bit of a, instead of going all the way back here, it's only going a little bit over here. We control that as a humanity. When we start really embodying how powerful we really are as beings, when we really understand how energy flows and works and all the principles we can use to help transmute the negative into positive and how to help us swing this polarity and keep it in one spot for a little bit, even if it has to kick back, we're still not kicking all the way back. It's up to us, and it's not just me or 5 other people doing the work. It needs to be a large percentage of us shifting. Can't do that if you keep feeding the negative side and you're not controlling where that pendulum is swinging back. I know it sucks. As humanity experiences the ebb tide after the high and stormy wave of war, which in its long and incessant beating on the shore of life has strewn its wreckage far up on the beach, there is work for all to do, especially all advanced students and thinkers who realize the significance of the events through which mankind is passing. We must gather up the wreckage and make proper disposition of it, that all its lessons may be learned, its good preserved, and its mistakes corrected, that the incoming of the next tidal wave may be but intensify the good and wash away all the evil. This is already being sensed by thoughtful students, for already we see many bulwarks and the past being swept away. Old modes of life, old ideas, old forms of government, of social order, and of religion, and wonderful promise of a new day is beginning to dawn. We are just fine-tuning the walk into this new day. We are just starting the baby steps. Because as much as we all put faith in a certain group of people to have things figured out for all of us, things are always shifting. And it is all down to coming down to just not those few people that were commissioned by Source to make moves, but it's all of us. Jack is talking about the Articles Confederation and how it is going to apply in the new world. If we keep that article and we keep the amendments and we keep a lot of these things that our forefathers created, but maybe if our like minds come together and we could tap into Thomas Jefferson, perhaps we can write and improve on what was the structure given thereof and improve it. We're just in the infancy of doing this. We still are learning about what the hell went wrong. And we can't all collectively figure that one out just yet, because it's a multitude of things. But each of us has a place and a service and a purpose. So find which one you're in. And if you haven't figured it out, that's okay. We still have plenty of time. What we don't have is enough unity to start building this new day. If you want things to get a little done a little faster and to manifest a little quicker, it takes more than just me and a bunch of people watching me to help manifest humanity into this new dawn and this new day, a new earth, whatever you would like to call that paradigm. We need to do this together. It's a unity. Are you on board? We need more people on board. Gravel down. Can we not conceive the back of the terrible destruction we so deplore on earth during the close of the Pisan Cycle? There is gathering a mighty force which will be poured out upon mankind in the wonderful new era which is to follow. The wave of destruction was but a manifestation of the ebbing tide of the old cycle, sweeping away many of the old medieval conceptions and making possible new and greater memorials, which shall be raised to our God, expressed in forms better suited to our new and higher conceptions of a tender love and absolute justice for the Father, Mother, God, that were possible while mankind was floundering in the deep trough of the cycle of the Dark Ages. Many of the most cherished treasures of religious art was destruction, is so deeply regretted, expressed much of the old religious misconceptions of the grand and eternal plan of salvation. Many perpetuated the literal, materialistic, and narrow views held in the days when God was worshipped as an anthropomorphic being, when salvation was regarded as the result of a literal pouring out of a human blood of an innocent victim as a preparation for the sins which man was and is still creating. The days when man was taught the doctrine of original sin, that he was vile and impure and condemned from birth, that he was a miserable sinner instead of a son or an heir of God and joint heir with Christ, having all the attributes and powers of God latent within him, only awaiting unfoldment in expression. Pause. There is no such thing as sin. Why, Allison? Why? Tell me why. Because the positive polarized God that created all of us, why would he create us to be afflicted in sin? Why would we be born unpure if we are the image and source itself? We are source. All of us collectively make source up. We're not the infinitude of source, but we are fractals of source. Why would source want to bring us into a sinful, horrible world? It's a Babylonian word. It's a goddess. We got to drop the Babylonian stuff. We can't ignore that it was a history that was presented to us, but it's not our story. It's the Anunnaki's story. And when we learn and comprehend that the books that are up there, those two specifically, are interpretations from other beings that are not human. That's just their interpretation and interpretation of perception of our coming here. It is not our story. It's his story. We got to understand and this big point. God is in us. Yeshua is in us. It's a consciousness. It's a wavelength. It's a sine and cosine wave that is traveling in the air, in the ether, that we pick up at every single moment that we want to have a creative thought. And then we creatively express it through our vehicles. We are source. Stop looking outside of yourself for something that is, it's around you. It's in everything. But it's mainly inside of you. When you can embody that and understand that completely, things will go along a lot faster. That's what it, because it is not a female or a male, it's androgynous. It's energy. It individuated in polarity. So therefore, there is a female and a male aspect and component to it. But higher densities, it's energy. It's consciousness. Stop looking outside of yourself when it's all in here. It's the great remembering. You have to remember these things. You have to remember how you individuated at a source. I know. And it's not impossible for other people to do so. Anyway, I'm getting off on tangent. Sorry. In fact, even the continual repetition of Lord, have mercy upon us miserable sinners in the service of thousands of churches throughout the Christian world for ages has peopled the mental and astral worlds with the powerful thought forms which, as they manifest through their creators, could not do otherwise than tend to make them the miserable beings that they have claimed to be, because they're manifesting for the negative polarized aspect of source. You might want to call that the devil. It's still God. In those days, men were taught to believe in God as a being who could become jealous and give way to unreasoning anger. Also in a hell of literal and unquenchable fire of brimstone, and in a mysterious worm which forever gnawed at the vitals of the damned. Man was taught that the punishment must last forever and ever, be the sorrow and repentance ever so sincere, and that the everlasting punishment was administered even to those who merely refused to believe in such doctrinal precepts. Even ignorance of the law was said to be no excuse, nor did it mitigate in any way the unthinkable punishment, so that the millions upon millions of human beings who had lived and passed away before such teachings were formulated, as well as the many millions who were living happily under the other forms of religion, were all condemned to eternal damnation. With such monstrous doctrines taught in the name of the God of love, is it any wonder that man grew cruel, bloodthirsty, and pitiless to his brother man? For no nation can ever rise higher than its conception of God. Today, mankind is beginning to understand that civilization is measured by its conception of God and the working out of its highest ideals. But in those days, it was quite conceivable that to punish our fellow man here on earth for a brief period, that he might repent and be saved, was far less horrible than that he should be punished forever and ever in a burning hell. Hence, this teaching was considered the best way to bring man to a realization of the enormity of his sins, or more correctly, to an understanding of the inharmony resulting from his own wrong way of thinking and acting, just as many parents even today think the best way to correct and secure obedience of their child is to punish them. But we see that the false idea was the outgrowth of mistaken religious interpretation and teaching, just as parents are learning that corporal punishment is not the best way to train children and secure their confidence and love. Therefore, as a new age dawns, we are awakening to a higher conception of God, not as a stern parent, but of God as divine love, that God is love, that God is so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him, the Christ, should not perish, but have everlasting life. And just as the former teaching tended to develop fear, the fear of a possible hellfire, and selfishness, the necessity of saving our own soul first from all possible wrath, as we awaken to the new world thought, it tends to foster a love and trust in a tender, compassionate, and ever-present Father, Mother, God, who knows that all children must be trained and wisely taught to understand the results of their disobedience and to assume their personal responsibility for it. Yet whoever waits in love and compassion to forgive and show the children how to meet the results of their disobedience once they have learned their lessons from it, shall not the inrushing wave of new spiritual realization and religious conception lift us above talking and thinking of ourselves as miserable sinners. Stop representing it in literature and art, a cruel, angry God and mutilated savior. The new realization must depict God as divine love, the sustaining power of the universe, whose beloved Son is the spiritual outshining of that love, the Son of righteousness sent to earth, not to be cruelly murdered, but like the physical Son, the physical manifestation of a prototype, the spiritual Son, to shine into the hearts of all God's children, and in this way pour out or sacrifice his life, give his spiritual life force, that the seed of the divine in man may sprout and come forth into manifestation in the daily life. Shall not the inrushing wave of new spiritual realization and religious conception lift us above taking, talking, and thinking of ourselves as miserable sinners? I wanted to hit that because where are we spiritually growing? We're not sinners. We're going through experiences that Source gave us. This does not involve the cruel death of a mortal, however godlike and divine, but it is a glorious and joyous sacrifice of the greater, that the lesser may have life and manifest in perfection. For the sun does not die, although it sacrifices its life force, periodically sheds its symbolic blood, that all nature may rise with it in a new and glorious springtime, a period of manifestation. Neither does the Son of God, the Christos, die, but sits down at the right hand of the Father, from whence he shall come again in his glory at each new springtime or era in human evolution. His holy messengers, angels, who will unfold the true meaning of the symbology of these misunderstood truths. For God, who commanded the light to shine out of darkness, hath shined in our hearts to give the light of the knowledge of the glory of God in the face of Jesus Christ. For I delight in the law of God after the inward man. Therefore, we are not inherently vile, nor are we essentially miserable sinners, but joyous children of God who, when properly taught, delight to do his will. Joint heirs with Christ to the divine love, which is the manifestation of God in and to us. We are the negative expression or wave of God, the positive wave touching earth, that humanity, made in his image, might rise higher and higher until the great wave of humanity reaches its crest and breaks upon the shore of eternity, one with the Father. The beloved Son, Son of God, descended and became embodied in flesh and dwelt among us, that those whose eyes were open might behold his glory, the glory as of the only begotten of the Father, full of grace and truth, and of his fullness have we arrived and received. Plain language this, and we wonder at the darkness of the minds of man who could not literal the blood sacrifice of the personified outpouring of divine love, poured out into the hearts of his ignorant, willful, and misguided children, and believe that such a crime would be an acceptable sacrifice to the heart of the divine love, especially as it is proved so inadequate to save the world from sin. The Redeemer of man and the universe is indeed the mystical Christ force, which is shed abroad like the physical sun. The none perish, but all have eternal life. That force whose spiritual pressure for expression enables even the lowest trough of the sea of humanity to gain the power and momentum to rise to its highest expression. For without this Christ force, that is inherent in every soul, nothing can be accomplished. This is the way, the truth, and the life, for no man cometh unto the Father, but by and through this cosmic Christ force. Ever since those dark ages, the great body of humanity, as powerful in its God-given strength as Samson, has, like Samson, been bound as with willow wreaths. so bound mentally and spiritually that it has been the force to accept the literal interpretations of the scriptures as determined by a small group of men during the darkest period of man's intellectual conceptions. The Christian church, a mighty force, it were spiritually awakened and its inner mysteries fully understood and taught, indeed, a chosen vehicle for the Christ force, has grown comfortably and lazily fed upon the authority and interpretations of bygone ages. It has become much easier to follow in the footsteps and accept the precepts of modern commentators and textbooks that to strive to enter into the spiritual understanding and realization of the sainted early church fathers who understood the symbolic and esoteric nature of the Gospels and who breathed into the symbols and ritual of the church the mysticism of their illumined consciousness resulting from personal communion with the Spirit of truth or the Christ consciousness. In the symbols, sacraments, and ritual teachings of the early church, there can be found all the instruction needed to satisfy every inquiring mind and all the spiritual food needed to feed humanity if it is mystically understood and spiritually interpreted and taught. Yet, alas, it is a common thing to find ordained ministers who dare not give to their flocks the golden grains of spiritual truth concerning the mysteries which the Christ light has revealed to them, lest they lose their positions, and others who have left the ministry because they were not permitted to give voice to the revelations of truth given by the light within. For unless they feed their flock with the outer husk of accepted exoteric doctrines and stereotyped interpretations, they are made to feel that the sacred calling of the ministry to feed my sheep holds no place for them, no latitude being allowed for advances in interpretation and harmony, but the advances in world knowledge for the illumination of the Spirit. St. Augustine, one of the greatest of the early church fathers, tells us plainly that what is now called the Christian religion has existed among the ancients and was not absent from the beginning of the human race until Christ came in the flesh, from which time true religion, which existed already, began to be called Christian. Yet the ancient and universal symbols are now either covered with dust of accumulated traditions and explanations, settled and fixed as their ultimate and only means during the most benighted period of human development, or they are put aside as being too precious to permit of inspection, interpretation, and valuation, and one who dares to question further is told such things belong to the mysteries of God and are not meant to be inquired into. Can we wonder then why so many churches are sparsely filled? Why sensationalism and outside its secular attractions of all kinds, even concerts and moving pictures, are resorted to that crowds may be attracted and the church appear seemingly to be accomplishing its mission? Yet just as there has been a time, even in the darkest ages of ignorance, when the spiritual understanding of some great soul has not shone forth as a star of brilliant light and glory, so today God has not left his children comfortless in darkness and without a prophet, meaning one who speaks for God or reveals the esoteric wisdom. Those who watch through the night have seen the heaviness and heavens opened and have seen the angels reveal the glory of the hidden mysteries of God to mankind, although few there be who follow them. But we are told that there is nothing hid that shall not be revealed, because it is given unto you to know the mysteries of the kingdom of heaven. The symbols and their true interpretation may be likened to the ancient temple of the Sphinx, buried in the drifting sands of the desert, with only the image of its roof visible to man. Although even the image is not understood, we are told that the same winds breathe the breath of God that buried it beneath the sands, really that it might be preserved from man when he was able to understand the mystical message, shall in due time blow away the sand, that is wonderful mystic lessons may once more be revealed to mankind. As the new age gradually dawns and the incoming tide of the new cycle rises, And as the new humanity awakens its illumined consciousness, and the strong man stretches like Samson, awakening from his sleep, the wreaths of tradition with which man's religious conceptions have been bound will be broken, as a thread of tow is broken when it toucheth the fire. Indeed, they are already breaking rapidly, one after the other, as the fire of the Lord descends to thoroughly purge his floor. Wow. And gather his wheat into the gardener. Even though the ignorance of priestcraft has put out Samson's eyes, yet today the little child is leading him between the pillars of the churchly temple. And when he has uplifted up his voice to God and stretched forth his hands 3 times, need we be surprised if the whole man-made structure of misconception and misinterpretation crumbles and leaves standing only the original true and beautiful foundations, that the incoming wave of the true priesthood, prophet, priest, and king shall have room unmolested to erect its altar to the living God. Why I gave that look is what's happening in Texas right now. My goodness. But we must not overlook the fact that religion is the God-given vital heart organ of humanity, through which the spiritual lifeblood is meant to flow, that the whole body of mankind may be full of life. Religion is therefore absolutely necessary to the spiritual health and welfare and progress of mankind. This is amply provided by history. For when a people or a nation loses faith in the gods or spiritual ideals in the reality of the invisible worlds and spiritual beings, teachers, and no longer makes religion a part of its consciousness in daily life, such a people soon degenerate and pass away. Witness the fall of Babylon, Egypt, Greece, Rome. Therefore, religion must never be destroyed, but correlated or healed and corrected when infected with materialism. And its healing must come from a conscious realization by the brain, the thinking portion of humanity, that the blood of Christ does indeed cleanse us from all sin, or redeems all our mistakes, from a realization that it is the duty of all the cells, persons, and the body of humanity to give their force to build into the heart of mankind living vital cells to make straight the paths through which the spiritual life force, the Christ force, or mystical blood can flow. Yet those who still remain under the shadow of the old cycles scarcely realize that they are bound and are slaves in the hands of the Philistines. Therefore, they deplore the passing of the old, and like the child who builds its tiny house upon the beach when the tide is out, they are enthused with the beauty of that which is, and are in despair when the inrushing tide of a new era threatens to sweep away their old creations. The Pisan Cycle, which is now passing, was an intellectual cycle, and during the 2,000 odd years of its sway, mankind has been perfecting the lowest feat of its understanding. Intellect and reason have been the ruling factors, and because of this, it has been a cycle of materialism, for intellect demands only that which it can see, handle, and classify. But it has been a very important cycle in the unfoldment and progression of this planet and of man's relation to it. Therefore, do not get the idea that because the physical universe represents the lowest and the most dense vibration of manifested spirit, and the lowest arc of the life wave, and materialism represents the lowest and most dense phase of intellectual development, that the intellectual and material attainments of man are of little importance. The cycle of materialism was indeed the negative expression of a great racial life wave, but one that was necessary to gain the momentum that shall make the wave of new age reach its destined height in the attainment of spiritual development and realization. The phase of mind which the Pisan cycle has developed is the rational mind of the intellectual man, or what in Eastern teachings is called lower manas. But the coming Aquarian age must develop the superconsciousness mind, or Buddhi manas. The subconscious mind, or man's consciousness, of the elemental forces operating through him in common with the lower kingdoms was developed in long previous ages, when the relation between animal and man and the material universe was established. The rational mind occupies the middle region, the lowest sweep of its vibratory wave, almost touching yet seldom making full consciousness contact with the subconscious mind, and its highest crest of attainment reaching out to but seldom making complete contact with the superconsciousness mind of the higher self. Yet someday this rational mind, when stimulated by a different wave of force coming from the heart, will touch the lowest waves of the spiritual mind. Then in its lowest sweep, it will touch the highest waves from the subconscious mind. Then will man be able to fulfill the edict, "Man, know thyself." It is only the Christ consciousness manifesting through the heart, crucified by the rational mind or nailed to the cross of materiality, that could descend into the lower regions, subconscious, and preach to the souls imprisoned there, or subjugate and control the forces of the lower mind, and through the consciousness thus illumined, make man in very truth Lord of creation and image of God the Father. Just as man's body during the short period of gestation of the fetus passes through all the phases of evolution, vegetable, animal, and human, so in man's mind can be found all grades of elemental consciousness, whose essence has been left behind as man passed through the lower elemental forms. It also contains the consciousness of the four elemental kingdoms, earth, air, fire, and water. But the rational mind has no link with that great store of lower consciousness until, through having learned the desirability of correlating his consciousness with that of the spiritual and superconscious mind, man learns to build up a bridge of spiritual conceptions over which the higher consciousness can flow to enlighten him. Only when the spiritual sun has shot down a ray of itself into the darkness of that vast field of lower consciousness, and the door of man's understanding is opened by his correlation with the spiritual mind, can a full consciousness of all the kingdoms of nature be possible. It's happening. This will be one of the attainments that the new age will make possible for man, but with it will come the mighty and inevitable test as to what he will do with his newfound powers. Will he use them as a means of helping on the unification of man and nature and aiding the upliftment of the lower kingdoms, or will he use them for his own selfish aggrandizement and power? We're here. This is where we are. As the inrushing tide of the new day sweeps over humanity, there must be those who are duly qualified and prepared to help their less evolved brethren to learn the wonderful lessons of the new age. Many have come in his name, claiming to be prophets of the new day, yet each emphasizing but one phase of the great law, so that much confusion results and hungry hearts cannot hear the gospel in their own tongue. So that instead of baptism of Pentecostal fire, it is more like a severe storm of lightning and thunder. The great masters of wisdom have stored up the entire philosophy of the wisdom religion, so greatly needed in the coming age, ready to be given to mankind, but it cannot be given like rain on a rock, lest it fall and fail in its mission. It must be given out through agents who have learned the lessons of the past age, in the cultivation of the rational mind, and who have illumined it with the rays of the spiritual sun. And hence we are ready to reach up understandingly into the divine mind and consciously carry their illumination down to the lowest point of the wave. For if we are to have a reconstructed religion, which shall meet the needs of the new age, it must be all-inclusive, must be both philosophical and devotional, rational and inspirational. I agree with that. To place such a system fittingly before the world, a new order of ideas in education, specialization, efficiency must be grasped. As long as men are content to be tied with the old wreaths of prejudice and continue to hold to the medieval idea of beggary for spiritual teachers, that such teachers must be freaks or beggars, gladly living on the pittance that more worldly throw into their laps. Just so long must the world expect to go hungry for spiritual food or be fed by undersatisfying scraps found here and there, as today, be puzzled by many contradictory partial statements of truth, rife today, or be led astray by every teacher who came and who can produce phenomena sufficiently startling. As to the support of spiritual teachings, there shall be one question. Is the spiritual food I am receiving worth having? Does it help me in the daily living of my life in the world? Does it satisfy my reason as well as my heart hunger? If so, then it will help others in a similar way, hence is worthy of the best support I can give it. How then can I best help to make it possible for such teachings to be spread broadcast to mankind? For until spiritual teachers can be properly supported and be left free from either the necessity of spending the best part of their time earning a living, or the great mental anxiety, or even the time of effort given to so-called demonstrating supply, the world need not expect fully equipped spiritual teachers. Truth. Those fitted to give the world such specialized help must be enabled to devote all their time and attention to such work. I unfortunately won't be there anytime soon. As to spiritual teachers demonstrating supply, a phrase so glibly used in such cases, there is no doubt but the great law could apply and amply support all who devote their lives to its promulgation and expounding. It could even feed, clothe, and support its idleness, all the children of men, if it so desire. But that is not the order of life. The plans have always been, if any would not work, neither should he eat. And since man's higher development requires spiritual food, as truly as his physical development requires physical food, and since those capable of obtaining and preparing such food have to exercise the highest of talents, and spend many hours of concentrated application to present such food, one of the important lessons that humanity needs to learn in the new age is that humanity itself must supply ample support to those capable of giving them the best. Else, humanity must be satisfied with that which can be supplied at odd moments. If this ideal is held by such in each student, then the inrushing new wave of spiritual revelation will find channels, fumes, and conduits already prepared, by means of which is foaming crest, filled with dynamic spiritual power, will not merely break on the narrow shores of advanced humanity, but will be carried far inland to water and refresh the thirsty multitudes and cause their latent seeds of Christhood to put forth, sprout, and grow, and bring forth fruit into the salvation of mankind. The harvest is at hand, but the laborers are few. Sorry, guys, I'm still like fighting here with my getting out. The next time we're going to read the message of the Sphinx. But this last part is something that I've been feeling internally within myself, because as I keep looking for work, and, you know, everybody's like, well, what the hell is wrong with you? You can't find a job. It's because I hold I hold this purpose that they're talking about. And a lot of people are not openly allowing this information that I give and spread in just yet. We're getting there. But it's the same thing. If I can't sustain myself and pay the 3D bills and be able to eat and have a life, I can't give and produce my best from my higher self, from the entities that are me in the higher realms. We all need to start really looking in how all of us are going to be moving into this new earth. I don't have the backing that other people have with popular voices that everybody hangs on to get a message out. I shouldn't have to be doing that. And that's why I have never really appeared on certain shows. Things are happening because I'm being asked, right? So it looks like it's starting, but we have to understand, and many of us are way showers. And many of us, if we want to devote our lives and time to this cause, you can't be impeded with 3D bullshit. And it's finding a fine-tuned balance in that. So a lot of us are just sitting idly by, taking all of our downloads in and upgrades and reading amazing books that are just expanding consciousness, and you want everybody to come with you on this ride. I don't want to be by myself. There's seldom very few of us that really understand the words that are coming out of my mouth and applying what I'm saying. It's not just hearing it, it's actually doing the work, actually implying it, embodying it, understanding it, comprehending it, and then exploding that energy out to humanity. I don't want to be alone doing this. It's a little late. But I know more and more there are a lot of people starting their journeys, and it's beautiful to watch. And I'm here to help you and help guide you as best as I possibly can. And there's going to be many of us, because I might not be everybody's cup of tea. I'm not for everybody. Because I'm an Aries. I tell it how it is. And I don't skirt around in niceties, making everything beautiful and sparkle farts. Right? I try the best that I can to reach those who need it. And I hope that this found you something good today in your heart space, and you align with it, and you start doing that kind of work and understanding how things are, so we can build a better, beautiful, clear beach, aka humanity world. So next time we will continue. I hope all of you have a fantastic, beautiful, spectacular rest of your week. Happy Leap Day! Happy Leap Day. And for those of you who have a birthday, happy leap year birthday. The world is wonky. Let's get through it together. And I hope to see you all in the next time. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to my channel. I'm trying to grow as much as possible to at least have something coming in, steady income, besides doing all my other work, that if you would like a nice energy exchange, I am cost effective. I'm not charging $300 to $400 for something that didn't take me that to make. And I cleanse, I put my energy into it. It's a ritual when I make my work. So I'm giving you my light. Please be safe, be seen. Sending each and every one of you love, light, compassion, grace, shielding, and protection energy. Sorry, guys, this camera. Until the next time, guys, please be safe, be prepared, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye, guys.